This is the issue, and I am the ghetto man. Our constitutional republic is now in the final stages of destruction. Democracy has taken its toll. Contention and chaos has replaced law and order. Police are on the take, civil forfeiture, their weapon of choice, the IRS violating the inalienable rights of every sovereign citizen in the Union while robbing them blind. The legislature, state and federal, are creating and passing more and more unjust constitutional laws. Fascist corporations are writing law, using the power of government to force people to buy their products and services, then enforcing fines and penalties and even jail time to those who refuse to obey unconstitutional fascist laws. All of the lawyers are corrupt. You can't be a lawyer and not be corrupt because the system teaches corruption. And then these corrupt lawyers, what do? They become corrupt judges. Right is wrong. Wrong is right. Everything is upside down and totally perverted. The people are filled with injustice, depravity, greed, and evil. Nothing but envy, murder, strife, and deceit. Foul-mannered defamers, sinister communist leftists that hate freedom. Spiteful inventors of vice, living senseless lives, treacherous in their actions and doing that which is unnatural. Everyone has become a law unto themselves. Wow. How can anyone turn this mess around? We all feel completely helpless. What can one person do to make a change? Well, got some good news for you. Our founding fathers were smart dudes. They built numerous checks and balances in our constitutional system so that the sovereign citizen could always neutralize a corrupt government and any unconstitutional law that Congress may pass. And one of these tools, one most wonderful tool they gave us, was jury nullification. And we can do that right here at the local level. It's called the petit jury or trial jury. That's probably what you hear most people call it today. As a juror, you have an inalienable right to judge both the law and the fact. Now, if you've been on a jury, you know that the judges will tell you otherwise. This is a lie. Now, you have a right to take upon yourselves to judge both and to determine the law as well as the fact in controversy. State of Georgia versus Bellsford. The jury has an unreviewable and unreversible power, a power to acquit in discharge of the instructions of the law given by the trial judge. U.S. versus Doherty. Jury lawlessness in the greatest corrective of law in its actual administration, the will of the state at large, imposed on the reluctant community, the will of the majority imposed on the vigorous and determined minority. Find the same obstacle in the local jury that formerly confronted kings and ministers. Once again, U.S. versus Doherty. Jury lawlessness means willingness to nullify bad law. In most cases, if not all, every jury in the land is falsely instructed by the judge. The judge will invariably tell the jury that it can only decide the facts of the case. Now, this is done so a bad or unconstitutional law will go unchallenged at the local level. The judge, he's playing on your ignorance. Also, the entire legal system in the U.S. is corrupt. It's a corrupt, closed-shop monopoly, completely under the control of local and national bar associations. In Montana, you don't have to study the law. You don't have to be a lawyer, and you can become a cop and enforce the law. You can become a lawmaker in Montana and create law without becoming a lawyer or knowing anything about law. But when it comes to the third branch of government here, and I don't know how it is in other states, but in the third branch of government here, the judiciary, you cannot be a judge in a court of record. When I say a court of record, that's where you have a stenographer in there, doing the thing. A court of record, unless you're a lawyer. And there are exceptions, but these exceptions are like the justice of the peace, the police court, and other courts of no record. And see, those courts, conviction can only exist by the defendant acquiescing to the power of that court. It does not have any court unless you grant it power. You have to stipulate to it and say, I agree with your decision. Now, if you don't agree with the decision, they have in Montana what they call an appeal process, but it really isn't an appeal process. What it is you file a notice of appeal for a trial de novo. De novo, Latin for a new trial. And then you go into the district court where you'll actually have a trial trial with a court of record, and there'll be a stenographer there, and everything is said and done is recorded, which it isn't done in the lower courts. And this is actually in the Montana Constitution. It's unbelievable. It's so unconstitutional. Why can't I be a judge? Why do I have to be a lawyer first? I don't have to be a lawyer to be, like I said, to be a cop or a legislator that's writes law, but I have to be a lawyer before I can apply and rule in the law? This is where the corruption is. And once again, this is the lie. The jury gets its understanding as to the arrangement in the legal system from more than one voice. Okay, when you're in court, there's the formal communication from the judge. But there's an informal communication from the total culture, literature, current comment, conversation, and of course, history and tradition, U.S. versus Doherty. Without the power of nullification, juries are nothing more than a rubber stamp for the prosecutor. And believe me, tyranny begins with a bad or unconstitutional law. If you can't nip it in the bud at the local level, a lot of people can get hurt by a bad law. Remember, all political power belongs to the people. Remember the 9th and 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution? Unchecked power of the government is the foundation of tyranny. And, excuse me. And the jury is a primary vehicle for the peaceful restoration of our life, liberty, and property. Your vote of not guilty must be respected by all other members of the jury. And remember, no matter what happens when you're in the deliberation room, never yield your sacred vote. Remember how important you are. You are an officer of the court. You are the judge. The man or woman sitting on the bench in their black robe is nothing more than a referee. And I'll show you how this works. When we know the drug war has been a real problem. Okay, we have somebody who's arrested for simple possession of cannabis. Okay, they're arrested, then they're, they have to make their plea, and then they get their day in court. Finally, they get their day in court. And the jury's there. And the jury is the sovereign citizen. It represents the sovereign citizens of that community. And they have a right to not only rule on the facts, but they also have a right to rule on the law. What if the community doesn't want laws that are going to arrest people for simple possession of cannabis? What if they don't think that that's a crime? So what are you going to do? Everybody says, well, what are you going to do? It's the law. And the judge said, you have to rule on the law as he presents it to you. Bullshit. Bullshit. as one of the members of that jury, when you're in deliberation, if the law violates your conscience and you feel that the law itself is no good, then you vote for acquittal. And it only takes one, and everybody else, sorry, nothing we can do about it. I'm not going to bend because you guys decide you want to go around and hurting people. And when you think about it, it's really kind of ridiculous in the first place. Somebody using cannabis, who are they hurting? Whose life, liberty, or property are they hurting? And then what we're going to do is we're going to arrest this person. We're going to separate them from their family for who knows how long. Could be 6 months, a year, could be a lifetime. I don't know what the local laws in your city are or your state. Is that what we're going to do? We're going to separate them from the family and then have them a huge expense having to hire a lawyer to represent them in the case. What about the welfare and food stamps that the family is going to have to go on now that they've made the breadwinner is no longer in the house? Got to pay for their housing, their food, their medical. Is that what the community wants to do? They want to incur that liability and pay for that? Then what about incarcerating the man and putting him in an institution where we have to pay again? We got to pay for him to be warehoused with a bunch of other cannabis users or whatever. Costs a lot of money, and it doesn't make sense to have laws where nobody's life, liberty, or property has been violated. You can put a stop to that. You want to stop the drug war? Quit convicting people of petty, drug crimes. It's just ridiculous. And see people say, how do you stop it? Well, this is how. You stop it right in your community. If you stop it there, and see, think about it. Every time the prosecutor tries to prosecute somebody for, let's say, simple possession or whatever, and the jury is never going to convict, how long do you think he's going to continue to prosecute people under that law? Think about it. It's kind of stupid. I always think of an example. It's like, let's say we pass a law that says it's illegal for you to eat ice cream in public. I mean, that's really a ridiculous law. And you're arrested. It's a crime. And a lot of times what the legislator will do is that things like, simple possession of cannabis, they don't really, it's not a crime. We all know it's not a crime because there's no corpus delicti. And the corpus delicti means there's no body of the crime. Where's the body? Where's the damage? There's no damage. When you think about how ridiculous that is to prosecute somebody when there's no damage, it's as ridiculous as eating ice cream in public and have a law that says it's criminal. And there's a term for that. When something is really not criminal, they call it quasicriminal, which basically means that we all know that this is not a crime, but we're going to go ahead and punish somebody anyway. We're going to fine them and throw their ass in jail if they do something that has harmed nobody, including themselves. And even if it did harm themselves, that's their body. They can do what they want. So how long do you think a law like eating ice cream in public is a quasi-criminal crime is going to last? How many jurors are actually going to say, hey, I think this guy was obviously eating ice cream in public. He obviously broke the law, and the judge says we have to obey the law, so we're going to go ahead and fine this guy or throw him in jail. No. The sovereign person is going to sit there and say, this law is bullshit, and we're not going to convict. And then there's no law that's going to harm you anymore. This is what being a member of the jury is. A very, very powerful person. It takes you from being what you thought was just, what can I do as one person, to putting you up there where you can make a major change in your community. And these things have a ripple effect, the butterfly effect. And eventually, people will start doing this everywhere. And then these stupid laws, these ridiculous laws that are just there to harass the people and eat out their substance, will be removed. Now, I think it was Samuel Adams said, he said, if ye love wealth better than liberty. The tranquility of servitude, better than the animated contest of freedom. Go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or your arms. Crouch down and lick the hands that feed you. May your chains be set lightly upon you, and posterity forget that you were our countrymen. Samuel Adams. The next time that you have an opportunity to serve on a jury, remember your power. I mean, this is a lot of power. Think about it. A lot of power. The power to change the law. The power to change the law. Nullify a bad law. Get your freedom back. This is how it's done. This is how it's done. This is where you start. Remember, if you're politically correct, then you're legally wrong. I am the Ghetto Man, and thanks for watching.
corporate political coup.